Hello folks. Terrain, specifically, wrecked and burnt out cars like this. Whee! I built this, oh my gosh, over a year ago. It still holds up pretty well, considering. Now the paint effect was meant to be like a dark rust, and it's turned out more like it's been burnt. The thing is though, is obviously, you look at any pictures of it, or in real life you look at anything that's been metal that's been burnt like this, like a car, it takes an awful long time to get to this sort of black, which is cool. When we're talking about terrain like this, obviously I've hit it with a hammer. I think I actually hit it with a brick to bend it down. I cut the bonnet and then bent it up. This was meant to be a custom. When I cut the bonnet with a hobby saw down the sides, and then I scored the back here where this curve is. I wanted to keep the curve. I didn't score it enough, and then when I tried to bend it to see if I could break it on the bend, I ended up bending the window pillars. So unfortunately it didn't become a custom because I'd wrecked it. Excuse me, one sec. Just clearing my throat. That's all it is. Just so you know. Yeah, so I turned it into a bit of terrain. It came out really, really good. Not painted in any way similar to any of my rust effects. I also drilled out the lights. I didn't drill out the tail lights though, which I really should have done because they would have been melted as well. I added a couple of stickers that I printed on like sticky label paper and then varnished it, so it's stayed pretty good. So what's this got to do with anything? So I built this recently, today, which is to be pulled along behind the Mini I built in the last video. Or it might not be the last video, depends which order I put these videos out, because I'm filming 3 videos at once at the moment. And that's just 2 reasons. But yeah, so this is to be pulled behind the Mini. I built it and I forgot to turn the camera on, so I spent an hour and a bit talking to myself while I was absolutely smashing this to bits. And I've only really hit this with a brick once. I noticed when I went outside to hit this to bend the roof in that I wasn't recording, so I was pretty peeved. So because of that, and I want to show you guys how I'm going to paint this up. I'm going to make the front half look like it's burnt out. I've lost a wheel as well. Make the front half look like it's burnt out, and this guy's tried to get out through the back but didn't make it. Then obviously the look I'm going for is it's meant to look like this, with rope going around these rear pillars to pull this along, as if this Mini's wiped it out. It's bringing it back to base or whatever. This is more like a diorama piece, an art piece rather than a game piece. But I'll make the rope removable. Obviously, I've actually got some twine that's quite thin that I may use. It's slightly too thick, but then it gives the impression that they're using big thick rope to pull it along, because I need to, especially with one wheel out. Also broke off some of the headers, drilled some holes into the bonnet. I just wrecked it all around, really. I've already posted some pictures and videos. I just asked on Facebook and on Twitter and stuff if people wanted to see a video of how I did this, and lots of people said yes. So that's what I'm going to do. I haven't got another one of these Mustangs though, and I'd be lying to you if I tried to make a Mustang the same, because it would never look exactly the same. So let me move the Mini for a second so I don't wreck that with my elbow or anything. There we go. And this out of the way. We're going to paint this though. We're going to paint this and this. This is the vehicle we're going to work on. What I'm going to show you. It's a Chevelle SS wagon. Pretty decent. A couple of things. Already drilled it. This, we don't need that. Bin that off. I like the wheels that are on this, which means that I'm going to rub the wheels off of this because I like these steelies. The front wheels we're going to keep on it. I'm going to take the back wheels. Oh, actually no, I'm going to take all the wheels off and I'll replace them with different ones. We're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to take a wheel off. Then I'm going to go at it with a drill and a file. Just to show you how I got it to that stage. So bear in mind that was pristine, the Mustang, before I came to this. I'm going to show you what I did to make these cut and grooves. So obviously you can see I've hit that with a file there, and then this piece here at the end of after I hit the file, I've just taken my crappy cutters, my Draper ones, grabbed the metal in line with the cut and broken it off to make it look like there's been like a near miss or shells bounced off, or when this is inevitably rolled over, which it has obviously. That's the aesthetic and the look I'm going for. That's what's happened. I've also bent this wheel in. The wheel still spins on all 4 corners, on all 3 corners, but the axle's glued in. And this isn't actually glued together either yet. it will be, and the figure's removable because it's hard to paint like that. But we'll talk about how we're going to paint this when we come to it. And then obviously what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how I do this. Now, this is really, really simple stuff. You could literally take it outside and hit this with a hammer and smash it up. And that's what I've done with these, which is a bit of a spoiler because I filmed me hitting these with a brick. They're going to be a part of terrain, a piece of terrain that I'm going to make. So this is necessarily the techniques to make a piece of terrain, but we're going to make a standalone vehicle. So it's not going to have a base or anything like that. This is just going to be a vehicle. So if I wanted to, I could daisy chain them together, make it look like he's knocked out 2. And the key to this is to do as much damage to it as I can without it looking too much like a. So I'll start again. You can use like a burr tool to make it look like it's got dents, but you really have to burr it, and it's still got perfectly straight panels. Same reason you can hit it with a hammer and flatten the roof, then it just looks like it's been hit on the roof. So what I try and do is I'll weaken 2 of the pillars so that I can bend down one corner. Yeah, and then I'll use pliers to bend it about to try and make it look more rippled. And back here on this corner, around here, I'll do something here as well. But what I'm going to do first is get the drill out. Excuse me. What we do with this as well, just thinking about it. 2 seconds, I'm going to swig a drink. Apologies. What we're drinking today? Diet Coke with lime. Nice. I do like a fizzy drink. Fuel tanks on this side, obviously, or fuel fillers on this side on the vehicle. There's no fuel tank really. That could be if you've got it modelled. So what I might do is I'll do extra damage here, as if this has been shot trying to wipe this out by blowing up the tank. So in that case, we'll do extra damage here, and we maybe do a fire effect here as well. So we'll do a fire effect on the engine area. Like I said, a front end fire on this one, and possibly a fire effect on this back end. So I'll extra wreck this back corner. So what I might do is bend this part of the roof up, because if you look at any pictures of a car where something's exploded inside, it tends to peel apart like a can opener. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. First things first is just to wreck the whole outside. So what I do is I'm going to get, my drill should be charged enough, possibly. I'm going to get the drill on. I'm going to drill the holes and the bullets. I use different size drill bits because in the Wasteland, in my eyes, not everyone's going to be running like 7.62 or 5.56. There'll be some 50 caliber weapons, there'll be some 20mm cannons, etc. etc. I mean, in the rules for Gaslands, it goes up to 120mm cannon. If this got hit by 120 or 120, it'd be destroyed. So we're not going to do that. I might mimic like an RPG or something's like hit it, but obviously in real life, with an RPG hit this, it'd be wrecked. I'm not going to add any armor to it, but when we get to it, I'll talk about it. I'm going to add some window mesh. I'm going to do the same as what I've done with this one. So before I squashed it and bent it, I added the mesh in, super glued it in, let it dry, and then I cut some of it. So when I bent it, it folded. I haven't done anything to it apart from that, just to add it to. If I add armour to this, I'd have to make the armour out of tin or steel, like thin steel, which is cool, which is doable. I may do that. I haven't decided yet. Anyway, I've waffled on enough for 8 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do now is get the drill out, and we'll go to time lapse, and I'm going to drill the hell out of this. And I'll come back if I need to tell you anything in between. All right, cool. Alright folks, we're back on this one. So, as you saw in the time lapse, I've used some pliers to cut bits off, I've bent pieces, pushed pieces down, pieces out, bent these pillars, just generally hacked at it and made it look like it's been smashed up. What I'm going to do, to put this centre punch, I'm going to come at, I've drilled quite a big hole here, so obviously you get a fuel filler here, and your gas tank could be down here somewhere, theoretically. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this, the gas tank can be wherever you want it to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the centre punch. I'm going to drive it into the back of this metal, where this hole is here and where this divot is here. The aim is to start pushing it out. I might have to do it in 5 or 6 passes. It'd be really hard to film, so I won't. At the same time, I'm also going to crush this corner of the hood down, the windscreen down. Now, I was going to put mesh armour plate in this, but I'm not. So before I do that corner there, I need to put some mesh in the windows. I'll do the front screen and the back screen, but I need to get as much access as possible to blow this corner out. I'm going to blow this corner out first, and then I'll put some mesh in, and we'll come back once I've done the crushing and the banging out. The mesh is easy to put in. You've seen, if you watch some of my other videos, the build videos, you've seen me stick mesh in. It's not difficult. The mesh I use is hobby mesh. Lots of people ask me. It's very similar to plasterer's mesh. You can use your if you're in the UK and you want some mesh and you don't know where to get some from, go to Asda, a big Asda or a big Tesco. Go to their pots and pans aisle, get a sieve, cut it up, done. Or if you've got a few quid more, that'd be like a pound, sorry, if you're not in the UK. 1 GBP, or £1 sterling, or whatever you want to call it. A groat. Yeah, or get one of those, I don't know what they're called because I don't have one, but they're one of those like big mesh things that go over your frying pan. Stop you getting spattered with stuff when you're cooking or you're frying something. Get one of them, plenty. I just buy, it's called hobby mesh. I think it's just plasterer's mesh from a big roll cut right down. There's lots of different sizes and shapes. I use the stuff, I just hobby mesh, eBay, Bosch, bought it, done. That's it. Right, I'm going to do this damage to this. So I'm going to blow out this corner, like I say, with a centre punch as much as I can, just to make it look a bit like there's been an explosion. What I might do as well is I might cut this pillar low down, use my pliers and bend this roof part up and these parts out. I think that'll add to it as well, just a bit different. Knock this corner down after I've added mesh front and back though, obviously. In fact, you know what, I'll add mesh now before I do that because I'll cut it short enough to clear the centre punch. When I blow that corner out, I want to tear it. That'll be easier if I tear it then. Right, I'll pop back once I've done those bits. Alright, so that didn't quite go as planned. I hit it a little bit too hard and split it, but I've super glued that back on. Just gotta wait for it to dry before I can re-drill the holes because I've put an absolute ton on there because I want it to stay together. I want it to be fairly sturdy once it's dry. So yeah, that's actually pretty much the look I was going for. There's been an explosion or something, it's blown out the side, and obviously in the force of that blowing out the side it's rolled over. They call it pitch poling, where it's gone kaboom, straight over. Also done is I replaced the wheels like I said I would because the wheels that came with it I want to use for a different project. Cut the interior as well. In fact, snip a bit more off this interior in a second. So if you're going to use a scrap car for this, perfect. So you can just, this is like a 99p car and it's decent for the video. It was obviously brand new straight out of the packet when I got it, but it's perfect for the video. So what I'm going to do this is I'm going to glue all the wheels as well. So I've got a different set of wheels. I think this is from a, what's the axle? I've cut a set of wheels in half. And I've dropped the one on my lap. So this is like from a Zero Metal Machines. You can get them in Wilkinson's nowadays. They used to do Hot Wheels and now they don't, which is a bit sad, but there we go. That's a shop in the UK if you're not from the UK. If you're from abroad, if you are from the UK, Wilco's, mate. So I'm going to glue that wheel in. It's the same size. Just drop a little bit in there. It'll still roll, I just don't want it to go anywhere and fall off. I'm trying to make my stuff like this a bit sturdy, just because I've just bent the... Sorry, I always make funny little noises. I'm about to slip and stab myself in the arm with a screwdriver. Or something. There was a mere moment when I was drilling, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it, because it punched through all of a sudden. I was going real gentle as well, because obviously it's a bit difficult to hold and drill, and my vise is in my shed and the lighting out there is poor, etc, etc. And it's more of a bike man cave mechanics area thing. Okay, so it sits a bit wonky donkey, so it's all leaning right over one side, which is what I wanted. as you can see, got the interior back in. I've cut a big chunk out of the interior as well. I've left some of the floor pan. When I paint it, you're hardly going to see it anyway, especially if I do like a proper beaten up effect. Should just be able to fit this back in. This is where you have to be careful if you've, yeah, just about fits with everything. You may have to encourage it a little bit to fit. So we're slightly off still. There we go. All clicked back in. Basically, I'm going to stick some super glue in there in a second. This corner is absolutely hammered. That's the whole point. It's blown out. That's how I wanted it. Now this hobby mesh, I use scissors to cut it from big sheets. Yeah. But if I want to wreck it, obviously there's been an explosion, so bits are going to come flying out. Things are going to lose position. I also mesh pretty much all the windows. I left a gap here on purpose. Look, it's blown through. In the process of sticking, my hammer was in the shed and the shed's locked, alarmed. So instead, I just hit it with a house brick. Really shouldn't have house bricks loose by the side of my house, but yeah. Yeah, I'll just pull at it with a pair of scissors or a knife. Give it a suitable haggard look. Have a quick look, see if there's any places that look a bit too bare. Now, bear in mind that in my mind, this has come along. Driving along, someone's hit a rocket or RPG, or it's hit a mine and it's flipped. Crash, all the weight's gone on this corner here, which is why it's all bent, and there's like a double bend in the roof on purpose. Hence, also as well, where this has exploded outwards, it's rippled the roof. That's how it works in my mind. It's rolled over, and then obviously it's on fire. And then scavengers have come along and gone, oh, so this looks a bit handy. So rolled it back over, crash. Hitched it up to their ride, their wrecker, driven off with it. So that's how I want it to look. Also as well, obviously I said before, when I had idea, I want it to sit on top of those like a gate. It can. A couple of things that you can see straight off though, obviously, is in there. You can see this wheel, obviously the Hot Wheels design. Can't do much about that. I'm not going for super detail. I'm going to look for it to look semi good. So when it's on the base, you can't really tell. So that's it on the build on this. I'm probably going to bash it up a bit with a file because this roof's not as haggardy as I want it to be. I'll use a round file and a flat file. That's what we're talking to now. So next thing's obviously... Actually, I didn't talk. Did I talk about that? I didn't talk about that. That was in a previous video that I've shot. So yeah, I've made these terrain pieces. So I'm shooting 3 videos today at once, one after the other. So it's how I expedite stuff at the desk in my hobby time, as I do 4 or 5 projects at once. I've got 6, 7, 8 modelling projects and about 9 painting projects on the go at once. So I keep busy. So in the other video, so I mentioned this here, I'm making totems and like cars in a desert. I had the cunning idea that that's how I'd probably display this on top, like a gate to drive through. It's too small for a normal gate, but like a terrain feature in the background on my video, on my photo backdrop / gaming table. So anyway, yeah, so that's how it's going to be. So that is an awesome replica. So that it's got no extra parts on it. It's got no 3D printed parts. It's got no resin cast parts or plastic parts from any of the manufacturers. It is just as it is. And sometimes I like to do that. Like sometimes I'll build a car and I'll add some mesh to it and some spikes, and that's it. It doesn't need anything else. This is the good thing about this hobby. You can have all the bits. I've got quite a lot of bits. More coming soon, hopefully. Or you can have none of the bits. Or you can kit bash stuff. So stuff like this, these little terrain projects, are great for using up bits. And they're also great for just mucking about for a couple of hours. Make something crappier. That's something that's good, and sometimes it comes good. So next thing is obviously to prime it and to paint. It's getting dark here, so I'll probably prime in the morning. So next time you see this, it'll be in the morning. For me, it'll be in a couple of seconds for yourselves, and these will be primed, or this will be primed, and the Mustang will be primed, and we're talking about paint and how I'm going to try and make these look like they've had fires in them, and how I've put some pictures up here. I'm going to probably have a couple of pictures. I worked out recently, by the way, this is why I'm saying it, I worked out how to put pictures onto video. I'm like a nerd. I had to work that out myself. But yeah, I'll put some still pictures up of recently burnt out cars and vehicles where I'm taking my ideas from, because that's the only way to cover it across. The Mustang's going to have to look really fresh because there's a dead guy in the back. The Chevelle can look a little bit older, to the extent I might add some graffiti on the outside so it looks like it's been kicking around for a bit and someone's just found it, make it a bit more dusty and rusty, a bit like how I did this piece of terrain, which was meant to be rusty and it came out more burnt. I used a lot of soot pigment and black wash, and it's got a bit of a shine to it, because although I used matte clear, I think I used I tried, because these are paper, like sticky back label, I shot about 8 coats of matte clear from a rattle can over it, and it's absolutely made all the high spots shiny, but on the table it looks cool. So that's the sort of effect. This area here in particular, as you can see, colour graduates towards the front, and I've got rust showing for as well. That's the look I'm going to try and go for on the Chevelle, and a more fresh kill, as in like recently. Now, stuff will rust pretty much like that in a fire, especially like steel and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So I shall see you folks, for me, in the morning probably, and I'll be back on here filming in the morning probably, unless I can't sleep, and then it'll be in the middle of the night. But for you it'll be any second now. Alright, I'm back. So these two are primed. Obviously the Mustang's back and primed. I ran out of primer. Well, I didn't run out of primer, sorry. I ran out of black. So I grey primed everything, and then used the last bits of my black. This is a satin black as well, which I didn't realise until I was spraying it. It makes no difference really at all. I've got matte black anyway, so in a bottle. And this is obviously Chevy with the explosion. I need to paint it inside as well. I've got like a soot coloured weathering powder. So I may, and that'll make it a bit textured as well. So I may, from about here round, first thing I may do is bung a load in there. I've got some pictures, I'm gonna put them there, of some burnt out cars, and one where a geezer, so if you're not from the UK you won't understand, well, you might do because TV abroad and stuff. A clever chap, imbecile, blew his car up by filling it full of air freshener and then lighting a cigarette. So it didn't blow it up like a car bomb style explosion. It literally popped every single panel out, which was handy because pretty sure in my mind I had an image of that from the news where I'd seen it, and that's pretty much what this corner looks like here. There was no fire in it, but I'll use it as a reference point. It'll be here somewhere, and we can use it as a reference piece as well. But yeah, and that's it. So colour wise I'm not decided yet. I've got a plan of how I'm going to blend the front to the back. So there's a picture I'll put up in a minute of a car where the back half's burnt and the front half's not, or vice versa. And you can see where the wind's been blowing, and what's happened is there's like tendrils of black going into the colour. I think it's a red car if I remember correctly. Now I want to do that, and I've thought of a way I can do that, and it involves some acetone and a cotton bud. But then I might paint this red anyway, because that'd be pretty cool. This is probably going to be like a blue, the Mustang, because it'll go with the red of the Mini. The Beetle. If I made that Volkswagen Beetle, it'd have made more sense, but it's a Mini. This is going to go red. No, sorry, this is going to go blue. Jeepers. And this is going to go red. This blue is going to be probably this Temple Guard blue, like a light blue. I think it would be a good contrast between the burnt out front end and the blue. Then obviously this one's going to be a red, and I'm probably going to go for a... Oh, my stack of red's empty. I've got an empty bottle of paint in my shop. Silly. I ran out of big bottles, so I've got this little tiny one. And my Fiston red's a bit low. There we go. Use Army Painter. Dragon red. So we paint the front half of this dragon red. I'll paint the back half of this blue. I'll go over the point. I'll go past the point I want for the effect and work out the effect. Now, like I say, I can either use acetone to blend the black into the colour, or what I can do is I can mix up a sort of paste with my soot weathering powder and some like glaze medium or a paint, like white or grey paint. That'd be quite handy. Make it slightly greyer, because it's not black. Is like pure black is finicky, and model soot isn't. It's black, but it's not black, and that makes sense. And then I can use I've got some like makeup brushes and makeup pads. I can use that to make like the tendrils. But if you see the picture that I'm going to put here, ignore my fingers because they're horrid and I bite my nails because I'm a disgusting human being. Here, I'll put gloves on so you don't have to see them, because I really bite them and it's pretty horrid, but I've always done it. So yeah, so in that picture there you can see now, I have to pretend it's there through the magic of television. That's pretty much the look I'm going to go for with both of these. I'm going to paint them very similarly, but in two different colours. Like I said, this is more about the techniques to get it to look like a wrecked, burnt out vehicle and blown up, in the case of the Chevelle. And then my figure, primed him just in a grey. Going to go for my standard colours on these guys, so it's probably going to be like green pants, black boots. Top half's a bit body armourish, so I'll do something like that. And then we've got a cracked visor, which I'll probably use my electric blue by Vallejo to do his visor. Probably do like a black helmet. May do a red helmet. I haven't done a red helmet in ages. I quite like a red helmet on these guys. It makes them look more like it's like a race team, and that's like the sort of thing. Silver on the knee pads and the shoulder pads, and then probably a brown on the gloves maybe, just to break it up. The quality on, I've said this before, whoever sculpts this for the guys at Dust Paint Games has done an exceptional job. The quality on these is got a bit of a flickery screen, weird. It's so far up there, it's unbelievable. If that's flickering, I do apologise. If not, then it's something's interfering with my... No, it's just incredibly zoomed. Yeah, the detail, especially around the... I don't know if you can see on this. The detail around where the crack is in the helmet, awesome. Like the guy I painted before, Viv. The detail, the level of detail on it, crackers. And it's nice and smooth on the back as well. It didn't come on a sprue, it came loose like this. So it's already been removed from a casting block. There's tread on these shoes. Yeah. Blown away by it. The guys at Dice Mechanic Games nailed it, chaps. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's it. Time lapse. Good morning, everyone. My washing machine's about to go into a spin cycle. I do apologise. Yeah, got too much in there. It's knocking like a barn door in the wind. Okay, so this is where we're at. They look fairly burnt already, and that's really just with an application of matte black paint, or actually it's not matte black paint, it's Citadel Abaddon black paint, and pulling it out of a sponge as it is. Because you want a bit more clear delineation between the burnt and the paint, so I'm going to obviously do another sponge coat on the red and the blue. Painted some of the mesh. Obviously this mesh is going to look burnt out, so I'm not going to do that. Painted the exhausts on this and the front grille underneath. On this one, got a few bits of silver everywhere. It doesn't really matter. So the bullet holes in the front of this, I'm going to edge with silver anyway, and then apply like a rust to them, because they'll rust fairly quickly. I'm leaving the headers at the moment on this because obviously this front end's burnt. I haven't decided how I'm going to do that, but making steady progress. This one's starting to look really, really good. Don't know if you can see that. Black never shows up properly. I've been looking at a lot of pictures, and on the older cut, well, not on the older cut, depending on the type of fire. 2 seconds. We're powered by this stuff again today. Awesome. I've been looking at some pictures, and a lot of cars that get burnt out straight away after they've been burnt out, like this one's meant to look. They're more white than black, and depending what sort of fire, depending how much smoke's been produced. I'm going to keep this one as being black, because this one's slightly older, I can get away with it being black anyway, blackened and burnt. So that should be cool. But some of the reference photos I've put up, or will be putting up obviously, because I'm going to do it out in post, you'll see. I've also found a couple of cool ones, like there's a part burnt out police car that's been arson attacked. And the Battenbergs is what the graphic that's on the side of a police car in the UK is called. I think they're still called Battenbergs. I think they're still called Battenbergs, and that's after the cake. But basically, the flames have reached a certain point, so it's burnt. It's burnt. Then it's shiny steel where it's burnt all the paint off, and then there's the edge of the decal that's applied to the side of the police car. It looks really cool. Here, I shall put it here. So we can just have a quick look at it. Yeah, so that's cool. So I'm going to try and mimic that with some more paint application. So this area here and here, this is the mid area. So I'm going to try and get a bit more colour in that area to get, like I say, a clear delineation. Same on this one here. So the middle of the door and the roof line is the mid area. Obviously I've kept some paint on the front as well because I want it to look more like there was an under engine oil fire rather than like a fuel fire. Oh, like it could have been a fuel line fire as well, but see what I mean? Hope you get what I mean. Someone's hit it with a tracer around or something and caused a fire. Not a huge fire. Obviously this has gone over as well. And like I said before, this is pitch poled and rolled over. So if you think about it that way, if it was on fire when it rolled over, and this was on fire when it rolled over, then the paint on this car, particularly the paint on the bottom edge, would still stay. So if you think about it the same as a highlight, where if you paint a highlight you want the lighter on the top because that's where the sun strikes and the dark underneath. That's the same way I've done this. So I've applied blue on the lower surfaces because if that was upside down on fire they wouldn't necessarily get burnt off. And this thing here, I've done it the same. I'm going to paint the base black as well. It'll never be upside down, but it could be upside down. Wouldn't look too bad. I've also painted inside the roof with black paint and the bits you can see. So yeah, so moving on from that is more paint in the base colour blue and base colour red. Just some tidying up, some damage on the bullet holes, and then I've got some soot powder and stuff that I'll add. Try and delineate between the two. I want them to be quite this looks good. This looks good as well. They both look really good, but they're both too dull, if that makes sense. I need to spice it up a bit. I've also got like a white Tammy Weathering Master black powder that I might use to simulate the tide mark of the burn, as shown in the pictures. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do next. We'll do it on time lapse, and we'll pop back once we've done those next stages. Okay then folks, there you go. That's how I envisioned the setup looking with the Mini. Pulling the Mustang out, dead guy in the back, etc, and obviously got the burnt out Chevelle there as well, semi burnt out, half burnt out Chevelle. Good little background pieces, good little scene with the Mini. I'll do some stills, etc, and throw them up afterwards. There you go then folks, that's the Chevelle all done. A good mix between the orange rust, the black and the white of the burnt area, obviously the red colour. A lot more rust on this one than there is on the Mustang, and that's purely because it's a slightly older wreck. See, the explosion bit came out better than I thought it was going to come out, if I'm honest. With the reference pictures I've included for it, but back in the beginning of the video you can see that not all vehicles burn exactly the same. So I took a little bit from each picture I had and decided that this was the best way to do it. but it came out really nice. I'll show you the Mustang now as well, 1 second. So the Mustang's got a bit of rope attached to it. It's like micro paracord that I've painted black. It's so that it hangs behind the Mini, which is the whole point of building this. I'd already built it before I could film it because I forgot to film it, so that's why I built the Chevelle. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you this as well. My dead guy in the back as well. That came out really good. Slightly newer kill, so more black, a bit more white around where the headers are melted away. Some are still there, that's why I drilled them out, like we said at the start. That also came out exceptionally well. Left out some of the weathering, so I had to cut the past and the weathering. It's to your flavour, so however much weathering you want to put on, that's the weathering you put on. So that's all I wanted to put on, or that's the level I wanted to do, so that's what I did. Anyway, that's it. I'll see everyone on the next video.